I won the lottery and immediately got a text from my dad after 20 years of silence. Every single number matched. For a few seconds, I thought I was hallucinating, like maybe my brain was doing that thing where it tries to protect you from despair by inventing something impossible. My heart was doing this manic, arrhythmic tap dance in my chest. That's when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Finally, you've met the condition, Dad. At first, I laughed. It had to be a scam, or a sick joke. My dad had been gone for 20 years, dead, according to the police. He disappeared after my mom's accident when I was 9. No note, no body, just gone. So this couldn't be real, except whoever sent that message knew something. My dad used to say weird things like that when I was little. You'll earn it when the condition's met, kiddo. I never knew what it meant. I texted back, "Who is this?" No reply. A few minutes later, "Meet me where it ended." I stared at the message so long my phone went dark. There was only one place that phrase could mean. The motel outside Fresno. The one where he was last seen. The one where the cops found his car and an open suitcase and said he must have walked into the desert or been taken. I told myself not to go. Every logical cell in my body screamed not to go. But curiosity has teeth. It bites and gnaws and doesn't let go. By midnight, I was on the road. The motel hadn't changed much, still half empty, still humming with that neon sign that flickered like a bad heartbeat. Room 7, the room he'd rented, was lit. A black SUV was parked outside. I remember every second of that moment, how my hand shook when I knocked, how the door opened just enough to reveal him. It was him. Older, thinner, but undeniably him. "Hi, Lila," he said, like he'd just come back from a coffee run. I didn't hug him. I couldn't move. I think my brain was still buffering reality. He smiled a little, this haunted curve of the mouth that didn't reach his eyes. "You were always meant to find me. I've been waiting for this." I demanded answers, where he'd been, why he'd left, but he only said, "You've met the condition. That's all that matters now." He handed me a small metal USB drive. "This will explain everything." Then he was gone again, out the back door, into the dark. Just like that, I sat on that motel bed, holding the drive like it was radioactive. My hands wouldn't stop trembling. I thought about calling the police, but what would I say? "Hi, my dead father just came back to life to give me a flash drive?" When I got home, I plugged it into my laptop. There were hundreds of files, accounting spreadsheets, encrypted documents, old photos of him with people I didn't recognize. Offshore banks, shell companies, names that sounded like fronts for something bigger. And one file named Lottery Protocol, Final Phase. That's when I started to feel the first twinge of dread. Like maybe winning wasn't luck. Maybe it was bait. I haven't slept since. Every time I close my eyes, I see that message. "Finally, you've met the condition." I thought I'd won something. Now I'm starting to think I've been chosen. I didn't open the encrypted files right away. I told myself it was because I didn't want to get hacked or something. But really? I was scared of what I might find. Scared that it might make sense. Because if it did, then that meant my entire life, my mom's death, my dad's disappearance, even the lottery win, might have all been part of the same thread. And I wasn't ready to pull it. But Jonah was. Jonah's this quiet guy I work with at the firm, our unofficial IT department in human form. He can decrypt anything short of the Pentagon. When I told him the bare-bones version left out the "my dead dad returned" part, he agreed to take a look. The next day I brought the USB to him. He plugged it in, frowned, and said, "Whoever made this didn't want it found." Then he grinned. Challenge accepted. It took him 2 days. 2 days of late-night messages like, "You might want to see this," and, "Leela, this is serious." When I finally came over, he had everything on his screen. Dozens of accounts under false names, money funneled through offshore banks, and connections to politicians, judges, and international contractors. It was my dad. He was behind it all. Jonah turned the monitor toward me and said, "You didn't get lucky, Lila. You were chosen." He opened one more file, a set of documents marked Lottery Protocol. The instructions read like a script. Phase 1, insert controlled payout mechanism. Phase 2, activate randomized selection, daughter identity verified. Phase 3, initiate contact upon win confirmation. I remember laughing, like full-on hysterical laughter. Because how do you even process that? My dad, who I'd grieved for 20 years, had apparently rigged the national lottery to find me. I left Jonah's place in silence. My head was buzzing so loud it drowned out everything else. That night, I got another text. You're close. Come to 38 degrees north, 122 degrees west. Bring the drive. I typed the coordinates into Google Maps. A villa in Napa Valley. Private property. No listed owner. Every instinct screamed, don't go. But there's this thing about growing up with unanswered questions. They rot you from the inside until you'd rather face anything than not know. So I went. The villa was like something out of a movie. Modern, silent, with those glass walls that make rich people look like they have nothing to hide. He was waiting for me on the balcony, silhouetted by the sunset. Hi, kiddo, he said again, like no time had passed. I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to hit him. Instead, I just stood there, asking the same question over and over. Why? He smiled, sad, proud, tired. Because I had to disappear. The things I built, they weren't safe. And I couldn't let them reach you. He told me he'd been hunted, that his empire was powerful but rotten, bribery, manipulation, secret deals, that he'd faked his death to survive. And now he was dying for real. He needed someone to take over, to rebuild it the right way. I told him I didn't want it. I didn't even want him. He said, it's already yours, Lila, by blood, by design. I asked about the lottery, my voice shaking. He didn't deny it. It was the only way to find you without alerting the wrong people. The win was your inheritance, proof that you could follow the trail. Inheritance. Like I'd earned any of this. He showed me a folder full of documents, proof of his network, his holdings, the people he still controlled. You can fix it, he said. You can make it clean again. I couldn't. I think that was the first moment I felt something colder than fear. Disgust. Not just at him, but at myself. Because a small, awful part of me wanted to say yes, to take it, to stop scraping by and finally have power. But then I remembered my mom's face, the way she used to say, money changes people into versions of themselves they don't recognize. I told him no, flat out. He didn't argue, just looked at me like he was watching a mirror crack. Before I left, he said one last thing. Walk away if you want, but understand, if you expose me, you expose yourself. Everything I've done is in your name too. He smiled again, soft and strange. Be careful what kind of freedom you choose. I didn't sleep that night either. I just kept thinking about that folder, those names, those accounts, and about how every time I try to escape my family's story, it pulls me back in. The worst part? When I opened my bank app the next morning, there was a new account under my name. Balance, $1 million. No note, no sender, just that number. And the creeping realization that saying no might already be too late. I didn't touch the money. I couldn't. It sat there like a live wire, taunting me every time I opened the banking app, glowing with the quiet promise of a life I could never live. I even called the bank, pretending to be concerned about fraud. The woman on the phone sounded cheerful at first, then paused mid-sentence. She came back on and said, I'm sorry, Ms. Torres, but the sender's account is sealed. Privileged authorization only. Privileged. That word stuck in my teeth like a splinter. For a few days I tried to go back to normal, pretend like none of this happened. Jonah thought I'd lost my mind for not transferring the money out. You could vanish, Lila, he said. New name, new country. You don't owe anyone anything. But the truth is, I wanted answers more than I wanted freedom. So I went back through the files, line by line, transaction by transaction. I started connecting dots, and what emerged was worse than I expected. My father's empire wasn't just dirty, it was predatory. Real estate scams, political blackmail, money laundering through charitable foundations. He'd built his fortune on lies and leveraged it to buy loyalty. And now, in the fine print, I saw my own name dozens of times. Documents that made it look like I'd been complicit since I was 19. That's when it hit me. If he ever fell, he'd built me as his fall guy. Or fall girl, I guess. Jonah tried to talk me down from what came next. He said I was thinking like a lawyer and not like a survivor. If you expose him, they'll come for you, he said. All of them. His enemies, his partners, the people who made him disappear in the first place. But once I saw my name tied to crimes I never committed, I knew I didn't have a choice. I wasn't going to inherit his empire. I was going to burn it. So I started collecting evidence. I backed up every file, every transfer, every document with his signature. I built a digital trail that pointed straight at him. I didn't even know who to trust, so I didn't. I sent everything anonymously to a group of investigative journalists known for exposing corporate corruption. I figured if anyone could take him down, it was them. For 2 days, nothing happened. Then one morning, the world exploded. Faked billionaire found alive, daughter linked to global financial scandal. That was the first headline. By the time I scrolled further, there were dozens more. His face was everywhere, older, thinner, but unmistakably him. The story spread faster than wildfire. Offshore accounts frozen, associates arrested, politicians on leave. And me? They called me the whistleblower, the heiress who turned in her own blood. Some called me brave, most called me stupid. My father called me once, just once. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity is poison. Congratulations, he said, calm as ever. You finally beat me. His voice sounded smaller than I remembered. Or maybe I was bigger now? I told him it was over. He laughed. No, kiddo, you just set the house on fire. You still live inside it. Then he hung up. Within 48 hours, my accounts were frozen. My winnings were flagged as fraudulent. Turns out when you expose the man who secretly funds the lottery commission, the system reconsiders your ticket. My apartment lease was revoked, my phone started buzzing with unknown numbers, journalists, debt collectors, fake lawyers. Jonah disappeared. His apartment was wiped clean, his phone disconnected. No note. Sometimes I wonder if he ran, or if someone ran him down. And me? I became a ghost in my own city. The lottery girl, the traitor, the daughter of a dead man who refused to stay dead. Months passed. I stopped counting. I learned to live small. No more luxury, no more spotlight. Just me, a fake name, and the quiet rhythm of starting over. Now I work at a legal aid office under the name Maya. It's not glamorous, but it's real. The clients look me in the eye. They say thank you like it matters. Sometimes, when I stay late, I look out the window and catch my reflection in the glass. And for a second, I think I see him behind me. Always smiling, always proud. Freedom's not what I thought it would be. It's not champagne and relief. It's emptiness. It's the space left after you destroy the thing that built you. But every now and then when I walk home past the newsstands plastered with stories about corruption trials, I feel something like peace. Not happiness exactly, just quiet. Last night I found an envelope slipped under my door. No return address. Inside was a single piece of paper. You did well, kiddo. Enjoy your freedom. Underneath was a photo of me leaving the office, taken from across the street. I should have felt afraid, but instead I laughed, because maybe he's right. Maybe I'm still living inside the fire. It's been 6 months since the story broke. Sometimes I wake up and forget who I'm supposed to be. Leela, the daughter of a ghost? Or Maya, the quiet paralegal with ink-stained fingers and a second-hand laptop? Depends on the morning. Depends on the dream. The journalists still send me updates sometimes, even though I never reply. My father's name is still on the news cycle. Global asset recovery ongoing, offshore leaks continue, former associates testify in exchange for immunity. They never found him, of course. There was a rumor he died in South America, another that he vanished on a private jet. I don't believe either. My father was the kind of man who knew how to become smoke and then sell you the air. Every so often, I still get mail with no return address, never the same handwriting. Sometimes it's a single sentence, sometimes a photograph, sometimes nothing but a scrap of coordinates. I throw them out without opening them now. Okay, almost always. The last one I kept. It was a Polaroid of a little girl on a swing. The photo looked old, sun-faded. On the back, in that careful handwriting I could recognize anywhere. It started with you. It ends with her. I don't know who her is. I don't want to. Maybe a warning. Maybe a promise. When I tell people at work that I used to want to be rich, they laugh. They think it's a joke, the kind you make when you're filing pro bono cases and eating instant ramen. But sometimes I still remember the feeling of seeing those winning numbers light up on my phone. That electric, impossible hope. The way my life changed in one heartbeat. It wasn't the money that ruined me. It was what came attached to it. Freedom, it turns out, isn't the opposite of power. It's what's left after you burn power down to ashes and decide to keep living anyway. I still dream about him, always the same dream. We're standing in that old motel room, and he's holding out the USB drive again. But this time when I take it, there's nothing inside. Just a single text file that says, "You've met the condition." I wake up sweating every time, but less afraid than before. Because maybe that was the point. Maybe the condition was never about money, or inheritance, or empire. Maybe it was about breaking the pattern. Refusing to become him. Last week, one of my clients, A single mom fighting eviction hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. She said, "You saved my life." And I realized something then. That feeling, that brief flicker of being useful, was worth more than a billion rigged dollars. So no, I don't regret it. Not anymore. If he's still out there, and I know he is, I hope he's watching. I hope he sees that the one thing he couldn't control, the one thing he couldn't buy, was me walking away. He once told me that freedom had a cost. He was right. But I finally paid it. And for the first time, I own everything that's left.